I want to welcome all my live and my review, my live and my replay viewers. Shout out to my live and our replay viewers, whether you're watching me from the high rises or down in the sewers. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Does my mic sound nice? Check one. Does my mic sound nice? Check two. What is up, everybody? What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? How is everybody doing? Hope you guys are feeling good, doing well. Hope you guys are staying healthy as we get started a little early today. All right. Because I'm just ready to get into this, man. I'm ready to get into it. You watching 3 people on the screen right now, 3 pictures. I think this one lady here on the picture is Jacoby. I think that's her first name. The guy that's in the middle, his first name is Ron. And the guy on the right side of your screen, his first name is Ryan. Jacoby, Ron, and Ryan. There's a lot they have in common to some extent. We have the lady here, donned out in her gold hair. And we're going to talk about that gold hair in a little bit because there seems to be a pattern in regards to this style when it comes to the color of her hair. There seems to be a pattern. All right. We're going to get further into that. But this person with the gold or semi-blondish looking hair, reddish blonde, she has disrespect and seems to look down on black people. I think that's her name, Jacoby. Ron has an ultimate hate for black people. Now, this first person here, this lady, she's a black woman, but I think she really disrespects black people if they're not on her level. While Ron, he just utterly hates black people. So much so to the extent that he'll do anything to make sure their black people are neutralized. While Ryan, he's the type that just neutralizes black people. And we have these type of people that live among you, among us. All right. So we're going to get into that. We're going to go deep into that. How are you guys doing? We're going to go in. All right. We're going to go in. Because at some point, this has got to stop. And if not, a lot of people will get called out. And a lot of other things might end up happening. A lot of things might end up happening. So, with no further ado, man, we're going to get started, all right? We're going to get started. But first, before we get into it, there's a certain gentleman has a special message. Remember the trans women, which are men, wanting to be women or becoming women or are women or transitioned into women. You know, recently, before we get into the main thing, recently there was like a lot of beef between these trans women and real women. And it seemed like specifically black trans women and real biological black women. The trans women saying they the real women and they running the show. Well, y'all guys remember Mr. Rogers, right? Was that Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood? That was the horn for Mr. Rogers. Well, Mr. Rogers has a message for all you trans women. All right? Mr. Rogers, take it away.
Boys are boys from the beginning. If you were born a boy, you stay a boy. Girls are girls right from the start. If you were born a girl, you stay a girl and grow up to be a lady. Only girls can be the mommies. Only boys can be the daddies.
You're rocking with the best Thoughts of the Week podcast. What's good? What's good? Yeah, I hope you trans women got the message from Mr. Rogers. You get mad, you got to holler at Mr. Rogers' video. All right. Well, let's get into it, man. Let's get into it. Well, before we get into that, I want to just play this quick video, and I want you to pay attention to what's being said and how it's being said before we get into the main thing. All right. Before we get into the main thing, I want you guys to check out this video, quick video, and just pay attention. Pay close attention. Pay attention to how the video is going and then the people who are doing the commentating, and tell me what you notice. All right, let's check this video out.
Boys are boys.
Let's go, the final of the women's 4x100 meter relay.
The USA can see Jamaica early in this race. The first two passes have been made. Jamaica and the US down the back stretch.
Look at Shelly Ann Fraser-Price go. But it's a good...
All right, I'm going to play this again. But I want you to pay attention to all four of the USA girls running. Again, like I said, pay attention to the video, pay attention to what's being said, and watch all four of the girls run. All right? Watch from the second girl, the USA, on out. All right? And listen to the wording. All right? Let's rock that video real quick.
Let's go, the final of the women's 4x100 meter relay.
The USA can see Jamaica early in this race. The first two passes have been made. Jamaica and the US down the back stretch.
Look at Shelly Ann Fraser-Price go. But it's a good run from T.T. Terry.
She has held her own, but now the Jamaicans have taken the lead. It's up to Gabby Thomas to close the gap.
Gabby Thomas up against Shasha-Lee Forbes. Thomas gets the lead, gives it to Sha'Carri Richardson. Here comes Sharika Jackson. It's Sha'Carri and Sharika. The USA in front. Nobody's catching Sha'Carri Richardson. It's gold for the United States.
Could y'all hear the bias in the voices of the commentators? I think one of the guys is a white guy, and then the other guy has an accent If you noticed it, I don't know if he's from the Caribbean, the islands. I don't think he's from Africa. He sounds like it could be Jamaican. And you can listen to the bias in both of their voices. You hear the white guy kind of in, it's Sharika, it's Sha'Carri, it's Sharika. Oh, Sha'Carri wins. It's like they was really pushing for, the Jamaicans because they had Sharika Jackson, then they had Shelly Ann Price, I think that's her name. And then remember when TT was running, the second runner, and they was like, look at Shelly Ann Price go. But you notice that TT caught up real super quick. That girl is fast. But you see how they pushed that? Even though TT caught up super quick. And you can see her running. She runs super fast. Just wanted you to train your eyes and ears to pick up on things and pick up on the biases, all right? So with that being said, we're going to get into some things very quick. All right. Fair use is in full effect. All right. Fair use is in full effect. All right. Shout out to, and hopefully it won't be an issue to play this because it's Professor Black Truth, one of our brothers in the new black media. So hopefully it won't be an issue to play this, and it's getting his video out there on top of that. So with that being said, let's get into this a little bit. Kind of going to stop and go. Well, let's get into it, all right?
Well, thank you for doing this. I want to just say to the councilwoman, I got you. Don't worry about it. We've already been looking to identify funds to be able to help, one, make sure there's adequate security for Edward Waters College. We are not going to allow these institutions to be targeted by people.
Uh-oh. Hold on. Someone's about to take the mic. All right. Somebody's about to take the microphone. And as the people should, they should go in on Ron the racist. They should go in on him. They should boo him. Because he's been ringing the whistles for all of this, what took place in Jacksonville, to even go down. The stuff he was saying, and then all of a sudden, 3 black people get neutralized, right? They should be booing him. Then, or part of that was wanting to erase the true black history that went down in the U.S. just so they don't make white children, white students feel bad for what their ancestors did to black people. They want to change things up. So the truth of the matter is that Ron has blood on his hands. It was Ron, you got blood on your hands. Those 3 black people that were neutralized, you're partially responsible for that, or fully responsible for that. All right? Let me see something here real quick. Let me see something here. Let's check this out real quick. Right after all of this goes down, Now, I talked about this before. A year or two or better, when I mentioned that Ron DeSantis was talking about putting some law into play to where if anybody loots, I think this was during the George Floyd situation and the riots and all of that, he wanted to put something in place where the looters, people can shoot looters at random, at will. And here he is again, maybe a couple of years later or more. Ron DeSantis warns trespassers in Hurricane Idalia aftermath, you loot, we shoot. You can look up that headline and you can read it. But the whole point is, here we go again. It's like he's sending dog whistles, man. And so the people have a right to boo him. And he needs to be booed everywhere he goes. Every time he speaks, they need to drown him out with boos. All right? They need to drown him out with boos. So let's go back and play this video again. Because there's going to be a certain Mammy that comes in. And we're going to talk about her a little bit too. All right? So let's play this again.
Like, as well as share it on your social media. The white supremacists hate that.
Well, thank you for doing this. I want to just say to the councilwoman, I got you. Don't worry about it. We've already been looking to identify funds to be able to help, one, make sure there's adequate security for Edward Waters College. We are not going to allow these institutions to be targeted by people.
Okay, listen, y'all. Let me tell you, we finna put parties aside. Cause it ain't about parties today. A bullet.
Exhibit A, we have Bunny Ruckus. Now, when I first seen this person, the very first time, she had all those same clothes on. The very first time I seen her was before that TK, that sheriff, the black sheriff in Jacksonville, TK Williams or something like that. She was on a newscast talking. And my spidey senses was already tingling when they did a little interview of her in regards to the Jacksonville Hate Crimes Act that took place. And my spidey senses started tingling. I'm always, or most of the time, very leery about Black women wearing that blondish, that reddish blonde, straight blonde, everything in that spectrum. It might be a little off blonde, it might be blonde, might be reddish blonde, that bright hair, that bright reddish, that red blonde type style. No matter what style they put it in, it's the color. I'm very leery of when women do that, Black women, because it's something that comes behind that with some of them. I can't say all of them, because you gotta watch them, watch how they interact, watch what they talk about, how they talk about it when certain subjects come up. So no, we can't say all of you Black women, but I watch them. All right? When they come in the room, in a setting like you see here in the picture, video, at a party, At a family gathering, I'm watching it. I'm watching what comes out your mouth, who you come after saying something, what you saying something, who you referring to, how you say it. So you got to be real careful about these types. I want y'all to listen to what she starts saying. Now, I'm going to put it back. And again, shout out to Professor Black Truth. This is where we got the video from. He did a phenomenal job, as a matter of fact, by the way. And so, yeah, let's go back a little bit and let's break some things down here. All right, let's break some things down.
Thank you for doing this. I want to just say to the councilwoman, I got you. Don't worry about it. We've already been looking to identify funds to be able to help, one, make sure there's adequate security for Edward Waters College. We are not going to allow these institutions to be targeted by people.
Listen to her.
Okay, listen, y'all. Let me tell you, we finna put parties aside. Cause it ain't about parties today.
She gonna put parties aside because it ain't about parties today. It's not about parties today, Massa said. I want y'all to listen.
A bullet don't know a party. So don't get me started. Okay, Jacoby is nice, but Ann is not. Now, if the governor wanted to come here and he bringing gifts to my community, y'all know I'm taking.
If Massa coming here today and Massa want to bring gifts, I'm taking gifts from Massa.
Let me tell you, we finna put parties aside. Cause it ain't about parties today. A bullet don't know a party. So don't get me started. Okay, Jacoby is not.
She was real quick to jump in front of this man and Ron DeSantis out of all people. Because like I told you, before I seen her in the interview, she wasn't talking in the interview, but she was standing next to the black sheriff in Jacksonville. And then I think she was somewhere else on TV. Well, here, this video right here with Ron DeSantis. When I first seen her, she was saying how bad this is and this got to stop. Saying we just can't do this. This is when I first seen her. She wasn't with the sheriff, wasn't with Ron DeSantis. They just interview her because I think she's a council person, right? And look how quick she went up to stand in front of this guy like she's defending him. It'll be just like the mammies back in the slavery times. The slave master needed a mammy because the mammy was the one who was going to keep all the black people in check. That's the mammy behavior. You know, that might be a saying. You know, she's conducting mammy behavior. Now, Dr. Claude Anderson refers that as inappropriate behavior. And we have a lot of black people who conduct inappropriate behavior. All right. Let's listen to some more of Bunny Ruckus Mammy. Some of y'all women who do this better stop. You're sending the wrong message, and this stuff is going to continue happening because of women like her.
Nice, but Ann is not. Now, if the governor wanted to come here and he bringing gifts to my community, y'all know I'm taking the gifts because we've been through enough already, and I don't want to go through no more. Now, y'all.
We's been enough, dude. Been through enoughs already, and we's can't go through nothing no more. If Master here got gifts for us, we's gonna take them gifts that Master has for us. And you see the other two black women in the background, they was shaking their head in agreement. They don't have the blonde looking hair, but you got to watch out for them ones who agree with Bunny Ruckus. When Bunny Ruckus speaks, when Mammy Ruckus speaks, you better watch out for them women who shake their head in agreement. Because this dude, Ron DeSantis, we talking about Ron DeRacist, was the very guy who was going out here talking about how they're going to change the Black history curriculum regarding Black history to teach the schools. This is the same guy when the George Floyd riots popped off. He was talking about he's going to put a law in place to shoot all the looters. And the looters he was referring to were black. He also came up with this woke situation using the word woke, and that's code word for black. So if he starts, him or some of his administration start talking about, yeah, we got to get rid of this woke society, he's talking about black people. It's code words. They always have code words. They take our words we use that means something else. Woke was used from black people, came from black people. It was meaning that people were waking up. They were not being asleep and falling for a lot of game that's been going down or that's gone down over the years. They're waking up. They're becoming more aware, becoming more alert to things that is, for being mistreated. They were more woke about the Biden administration. They were more woke about every time they come out to vote, everybody, other ethnicities get everything. Black people, that was what woke meant. But Ron DeSantis took the word woke and it's being used as a code word for black, meaning black people. You guys got to pick up on this stuff and learn this. And then we always have these Mammy Bunny Ruckuses that always come out and try to show zaddy, Ron DeRacist, or show zaddies that, hey, here, zaddy, I'm going to take control of these black folks, just like the mammies in slavery time. All the slave masters knew who was the mammy, and that mammy would take and put the black folks in check. And here we have again, same situation. All right. So let's play that.
Listen, y'all. Let me tell you, we finna put parties aside, cause it ain't about parties today. A bullet don't know a party, so don't get me started. Okay, Jacoby is nice, but Ann is not. Now, if the governor wanted to come here and he bringing gifts to my community, y'all know I'm taking the gifts because we've been through enough already, and I don't want to go through no more. Now, y'all just be quiet just a minute and let the governor say what he gonna say, and we gonna get this party started. You hear me? Okay, let's do it.
We're gonna get this party started. Is this a party? Was that shooting a party or a hate crime? Was it a party or a hate crime? I'm telling you, you better watch out for these Mammy Ruckuses.
Okay, listen, y'all. Let me tell you, we finna put parties aside. Cause it ain't about parties today. A bullet don't know a party. So don't get me started. Okay, Jacoby is nice, but Ann is not. Now, if the governor wanted to come here and he bringing gifts to my community, y'all know I'm taking the gifts because we've been through enough already, and I don't want to go through no more. Now, y'all just be quiet just a minute and let the governor say what he gonna say, and we gonna get this party started. You hear me? Okay, let's.
And why didn't any black people tell her to sit her behind down somewhere? Notice how everybody just got quiet all of a sudden. Knowing what this man is up to and what he's done, what he said. And everybody, all the black people just staring and looking. You see some of the white folks looking at her like, lady, you better sit down somewhere. Because your own people going to go after you. You can see the looks on their faces. I think one of them might have been actually security that's wearing plain clothes. But, watch out for these women with the gold blonde hair, the reddish blonde hair. Again, like I said, I'm not saying all black women who rock that hairstyle or the color, not the hairstyle. They could have that color and put it in any type of hairstyle. Pay attention when they talk. Pay attention in the settings they are in. Yeah. Facts. Gooning and cooning. Big facts. Straight gooning and cooning. That's exactly what she was doing. And you got to watch folks like that in the settings that they are in, who they're around. If you're in an event or you just talking to them with a small group of people, depending on what's being said, they're going to put on a performance, but you got to pay attention to them. That's why I said I can't say all black women who rock that color hair are Bunny Ruckuses, Mammy Ruckuses. Y'all know the Mammy Ruckus or Bunny Ruckus come from the Boondocks, if I'm not mistaken. So y'all should watch some episodes of the Boondocks and see how Bunny Ruckus be talking on the show, on that cartoon. But these are the folks you got to watch. Because it's just like I said, in slavery times, they're the ones that come in the front. I got them for you, massa. I straightens them out. If massa got gifts, we's gonna take them gifts. We's gonna take them gifts that massa give us. We's gonna take them crumbs. Whatever crumbs massa gives, we's gonna take that. So let's listen in some more. Again, shout out to Professor Black Truth. This is where the video comes from. Another brother in the new black media. Let's listen in. Play it back one more time, just a little bit.
It's not. Now, if the governor wanted to come here and he bringing gifts to my community, y'all know I'm taking the gifts because we've been through enough already, and I don't want to go through no more.
No more.
Now, Y'all just be quiet just a minute
Y'all be
and
quiet.
let the governor
Let the
say what he
governor.
gonna say, and we gonna get this party started. You hear me? Okay, let's do it.
For 40 years now, Dr. Claude Anderson has been talking about inappropriate behavior in the
Facts.
Black community. Now, when he talks about that, what he refers to is Black people reacting to racism in a way that either fails to fight it or worse, in a way that encourages it. One of, if not the worst way to respond to anti Black racism is to show weakness in the face of anti Black violence, to show weakness in the face of racists. Ron DeSantis is a card carrying anti Black racist, and he has been for a very long time. The race mass murder in Jacksonville a few days ago was the direct result of the constant anti Black rhetoric and posturing that he's been doing since he became governor.
Fact.
In fact, he was very popular with neo Nazis before he became governor. He has made it the hallmark of his time as a politician to wage a nonstop war on Black people, declaring that Black history, Black voters, and Black citizens are the enemy that he's at war with. With sick glee, he signed laws legalizing harming Black people merely for demonstrating. He has also
Again, just like I said, I remember a few years back he was talking about. We're gonna pull that up again because it's being mentioned again. I remember reporting on this a few years back, saying that when the George Floyd riots was going down, and you can't blame folks, that was just ridiculous, more than ridiculous. I could have some better words for that. But he was talking about how he wanted to put something in place to where they'll make it legal for looters to get shot. Anybody can shoot a looter. And we all know what looters he was referring to because of his record. And again, look at what happened there. How recent. Here he goes again, talking about the same thing. All right, y'all see that on the screen. I think this was two years or more when he said this before. Here we go again. All right. Let's continue listening in.
attack the Black community in Florida through the targeted deprivation of state funds, which to wage a nonstop war on Black people, declaring that Black history, Black voters, and Black citizens are the enemy that he's at war with. With sick glee, he signed laws legalizing harming Black people merely for demonstrating. He has also attacked the Black community in Florida through the targeted deprivation of state funds, which, by the way, are the Black community's own tax dollars that they are being denied. See, in Florida, the governor has the ability to do a line item veto. That means that when the state legislature presents him with the annual budget, he can arbitrarily cross off things that he doesn't like. Those things that he chooses to cross off just won't get funded, which is exactly what he's done for everything relating to Black people in Florida. And that brings us to Jacoby Pittman, aka Mammy Pittman. She was licking DeSantis's boots to a mirror shine. This ridiculous looking ghoul, in the hour of grief for this community, she came out there berating Black people and telling them that a bullet has no political party. Actually, it does. The Republicans have literally been the party of the gun lobby. In response to the Parkland school massacre, DeSantis and his pals passed a raft of laws to make it easier for white supremacists to get their hands on guns and to not be stopped for any reason. The Republican Party are literally the political party of firearms. It's no coincidence that the vast majority of mass shooters are right-wingers, or at the very least, right-wing adjacent. So bullets do have a political party, the Republican Party. And in Florida, white supremacists have a political leader, Ron DeSantis. This piece of walking filth had the nerve to smile and preen and strut and say that I'm going to accept these gifts if he's bringing them. I want them because we suffered too much. She, of course, doesn't mention that the entire reason that black people have suffered in her district is because of Ron DeSantis. This is a sellout bootlick auditioning heavy for a job from white power. She wants to be in the good graces of the same white money forces that are backing DeSantis. She's hoping that there's a couple of pennies, or rather crumbs, for her. That's what you saw her doing. Bootlicks will do anything to get a pat on their empty little heads. But for me, the topper was when Mammy Pittman said at the very end of her bootlicking speech that, "We're gonna get this party started." This was a prayer vigil, not a damn block party. For her to even say those words showed how little respect she had for the murder victims. What, a bunch of dead bodies over there? And some white supremacists who did it? Well, let's go ahead and break out the music and let's show ourselves some dance moves. That's all the black folks in Florida are about, to hear her tell it. She presented the black community in Florida to the world as nothing more than targets to be killed.
Again, before we go on, gotta watch them bunny ruckuses. They'll sell you out just like everybody else. All right? Coming out here looking like McDonald Land, Adventures on the Glass. Better watch out for these folks.
And that afterwards, black people in Florida apparently will allow the very racist puke who orchestrated the violence against them to come among them, and they will respectfully listen to him as if he had done nothing wrong. Let him spout out his talking points and then walk away as if nothing had happened, as if he hadn't done anything. No matter how racist you are against the black community, apparently they will just bite their tongues and sit on their hands while the very racists who cheerlead and encourage and legislate violence against the black community walk right up in their faces and say, I didn't have anything to do with this. First of all, DeSantis is the entire reason the black community in Florida has been so deprived of resources. He's a racist who has been using his position as governor to specifically target and deny the black community its own tax dollars. The economic deprivation of black Florida has been government policy directly from Ron DeSantis' office. Secondly, if you think this racist bastard's actually going to do anything for the black community anywhere, then you're a fool. DeSantis knew that everyone was going to blame him for this mass murder because he's been openly demonizing the black community for years, and he's been using his platform as governor to attack black Floridians every second of every day he's been in office. So he figured he had to come down and try to manufacture a PR moment for himself. He knew everybody was going to be looking at him and saying, "Yeah, DeSantis, you're the reason this happened." So he would say a few completely insincere words and then bounce, which is exactly what he did. Now, there's something else about this Jacoby Pittman woman. She is not the leader of the black community. She's just some Democrat shill in the city council office. None of these
Facts. And you definitely need to watch out for these Democratic shills because they are now getting started. Let me see something real quick. I don't know if I have it here or not. I don't think I have it here. But they're already using they're starting to use the rappers. Hold on. They're already getting the rappers in the mix to set things off with the election. And by the way, I'm not gonna say the word. I'm gonna just say it like this: you can replace the word with the ER. But these group called Negroes for Trump, y'all can stop that nonsense too. All right. If y'all don't know, there's a group now called Negroes. Replace the few letters in there and put the AS or the ERS in there. Negroes for Trump. Kind of side note. Yeah, we get it about Trump. We know he's appears to be more about it in some type of ways. And then when he was president, a lot of black folks seem to be doing a little bit better on the financial side. But we can't forget he has some things and some issues with black folks and, his pops as well. The Central Park situation and what he said. And there's a few other things that could be spoken when he was a president. And so he don't get off the hook that easy. But I get where people are coming from. Well, let me try to find something real quick before we continue on here. Might have to show it later, but they're getting started, man. They're underway now. They're setting off for the election for next year, 2024, and they're already getting the rappers involved already. Maybe I don't have the pictures, but I remember seeing it. So, yeah. All right, we're gonna play it. Maybe I'll find it later. I might show y'all. We just do it in another episode. But they're already getting started. The same playbook. Bring the rappers in. That's going to bring the black folk for the Democrats. We're already getting started. They're going to continue. So let's continue with this.
For a PR moment for himself. He knew everybody was going to be looking at him and saying, yeah, DeSantis, you're the reason this happened. So he would say a few completely insincere words and then bounce, which is exactly what he did. Now, there's something else about this Jacoby Pittman woman. She is not the leader of the black community. She's just some Democrat shill in the city council office. None of these bootlicks are the black community's leaders. Black people are supposed to be the leaders. At least we're supposed to be. But it's way past time we started acting like it. We're the ones who are supposed to be in charge. And when we speak, people like Jacoby Pittman are supposed to be the ones who fall silent. How dare she call herself telling the people in their hour of grief to be quiet? This is the tail wagging the dog. Those people are supposed to be her constituents. Constituents meaning she takes orders from them, not the other way around. If they're booing DeSantis, she's supposed to be out there booing them too, or at the very least backing them up, because they're the ones who put her in office. They're the ones who she's supposed to be taking orders from. Shouldn't she be worried that if she disrespects or otherwise disagrees with her constituents, that the crowd is going to turn on her? But she wasn't. Because when a group's internal politics have become deranged and confused, it will be hard for them to focus on getting rid of problem candidates and more difficult for them to focus on it long term. These bootlick politicians count on that. The people who just stood there letting her berate them and stood there letting her praise DeSantis, that was a disgrace. And the ones who sat there silently, which was most of them, they should be ashamed. And I said it. Our enemies in the white media will take that silence from that group as proof that they were just acting rowdy because DeSantis is a Republican. Why, look how quickly they fell silent when a Democrat, Mammy, told them to.
Just like I mentioned before, back in the slave times, NASA always had a Mammy. Mammy puts all the black slaves in check. And you seen in the crowd, nobody checked her. I say from now on, when you have mammies that behave like that, of course she's a Democratic shield or shield, Democratic shield or shield, Democratic shield. She'll put the shield up to protect the Democrat masses. Whenever they out in public and they do something like this, man or woman, but of course the women are the ones wearing the gold hair, need to start checking her out, checking her publicly, and then a lot of this stuff will stop. Because like Professor Black Truth stated, I'm going to say it a little bit different. When you have that imagery and millions of people might be watching that, that sends a message into the brain. That imagery sends a message into the brain. When you have people praying, I think it might be in this video, or we might have to play another one. You want to pray, go ahead and pray. But you better be mindful of the imagery that it portrays when you do it on camera. You should be just praying privately in silence somewhere else. But when you do that stuff and people constantly keep doing it over and over, and what has been the result? Over and over, black folks getting shot up. Because you don't understand that you are in a war, but you're in a war, but acting like you're in a party with music playing in the back. Better understand the imagery that brings up. Better understand the strategies of war. They taking them imagery, the images, and showing millions of people, oh, look at them. Their people get blasted and they just sit in the circle and pray. Oh, them people get blasted and they just send Mammy out and they shut them all down. Better understand the imagery and the strategies of war. If you want to do all that, be a little bit more wise and do it in private. And stop doing things so publicly, because the imagery is sending out a message. Don't get it twisted.
On it long term. These bootleg politicians count on that. The people who just stood there letting her berate them and stood there letting her praise DeSantis, that was a disgrace. And the ones who sat there silently, which was most of them, they should be ashamed. And I said it. Our enemies in the white media will take that silence from that group as proof that they were just acting rowdy because DeSantis is a Republican. Why, look how quickly they fell silent when a Democrat, Mammy, told them to. That's the spin the white media is going to put on it. And to all intents and purposes, they might as well be right. Now, I don't mean to attack the community down there. They've been through enough. I'm not blaming them for the massacre. It's DeSantis' fault. They did the right thing by booing that bastard. Truth be told, that was the bare minimum they could do. But, and it needs to be said, if at this late date in the 21st century, if black people cannot be fearless in the face of a race massacre, if they cannot stand up to the white supremacists and their bootlicks to their faces, then when are black people going to do it? A large part of why slavery, Jim Crow, and the race massacres happened and why we never get justice is because we allow bootlicks like Jacoby Pittman to be among us, to keep undermining us. When the victims of anti-Black violence are faced with the racists who called for, promoted, and encouraged that violence, and they show him any kind of respect, that is a people who will never be respected and who will never be allowed to simply live their lives. People will see that, and their only takeaway from it will be, well, it can't be that serious. Why, look at how these Black folks reacted. They just fell quiet so quickly. So obviously, there was nothing to it. Jacoby Pittman consciously and deliberately helped to give the white media material with which to push an anti-Black counter narrative. But my problem is also that you had Negroes just standing around while this was happening. And yes, I'm afraid that falls on them. Too many of us are concerned only with not being criticized for making Black folks look bad. But the problem is, let the white media and their bootlicks tell it everything makes Black people look bad. And now it's gotten to the point that we will let people berate us for booing an accomplice in Black murder, and we'll fall silent like a scolded child. Worse than that, too many of us will go right along with things that we know to be a pack of lies. Black people simply cannot afford to be silent when these bootlicks are being apologists for the murder of Black people. And if you think that it was some kind of coincidence that she was there, if you think that DeSantis hadn't already planned out in advance that she would be his crash dummy if the crowd was hostile, then you don't know how politics actually works. I think it was already prearranged that Mammy Pittman would be DeSantis's human shield if the crowd was hostile. By the way,
Not only that, in regards to politics, I would, like I said before, strategies of war. He knew what people to put in play that will calm down the masses. He knew he was being strategic. He knew the Mammy would calm down those slaves. So not only the game of politics, but the game of war, the strategies of war he was applying. He knew what pieces of the chessboard he can move. Oh, we're gonna move Mammy over here because Mammy's gonna calm them down. The human chess, but the real chessboard, a chess game of real life chess. I'm gonna move Mammy into place. I'm gonna say my thing, but Mammy, once somebody starts saying something, if they cut me off, I'm gonna move you in. You automatically take the floor. And then that made Mammy feel like, oh, that means I'm gonna be in charge. I'm gonna be the leader. I'm gonna be in charge. I'm the leader now. Mammies love that. And Zaddy knew it. All right, before we get back into the video, let's pull some pictures up real quick. For those who might not know, that's supposedly the brother of Ryan. And apparently he's in hiding. He made some comments that you might want to know about for those who haven't seen it. Just let you read. I'm not even going to read it. You just read it. All I'm going to say is this. Rihanna's from the Caribbean, so I don't know. That's all I'm going to say. But this is Ryan's brother. Here's something else Ryan's brother said. I can read it through. All right. And here's one more thing. Shout out to the new Black Media Intelligence Wing. Our sleeper spies who know how to find the information before they scrub the internet. Shout out to y'all for being able to find this info. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna go into before we play this video, continue with the video. We're gonna play look at a few comments people were saying, just so you can kind of see where everybody's head is at. All right, let me see something here real quick. I'm curious about something. Okay. You guys see that picture on the right? Kyle Rittenhouse. I call him Rotten. Kyle Rittenhouse. This is kind of how all this stuff started popping off. Although a lot of people were saying, you know, he shot somebody white, but who's this here? Let me see what you're saying, man. I King Whalen. Okay. I just wanted to put that on the board so we can see what folks is out here. They out here. But yeah, Kyle Rittenhouse. Now we got some people calling Ryan a saint from Nord. Rest in peace, saint. Sonolis said, God bless you. You didn't make it to the level of Saint Gendron or Saint Ruth, but at least you tried. So we got supporters of this Ryan dude. I just want y'all to see the type of people that's out here, that's among you. Could be living right next door to you. All right. This dude named Lecter C said, nice work, man. I just want y'all to see, all right, the type of people. He was also on there calling people monkeys, saying it's code words for black. That's what Nikki was saying Ryan was doing. I wonder if the WS brother listens to Fresh and Fit. As you all know, the Fresh and Fit podcast, who supposedly got demonetized because people were complaining on them. They had a white supremacist on there who used the N-word, or asked if he could use it, and a bunch of black women told him go ahead. Ain't that crazy right there? All right. Here's a few others. You guys read them. Punchable A-Face. Died a version of Laughing Out Loud. Neckbeard, Rest in Piss. Rotten Hell, You Fat Nazi. Incel. Scary Liberal Witch said, Rotten Hell, You Nazi Scumbag. And then DS said, too bad the FBI set you up. This guy is a patsy and was set up by the FBI. That's what they do. All right. So we'll get back into some more. Let's play this video. Continue playing the video. All right. Again, watch out for these women that be doing that. All right.
And let like a scolded child. Worse than that, too many of us will go right along with things that we know to be a pack of lies. Black people simply cannot afford to be silent when these bootlicks are being apologists for the murder of black people. And if you think that it was some kind of coincidence that she was there, if you think that DeSantis hadn't already planned out in advance that she would be his crash dummy if the crowd was hostile, then you don't know how politics actually works. I think it was already prearranged that Mammy Pittman would be DeSantis's human shield if the crowd was hostile. By the way, Democrats and Republicans do this all the time. That's why they always seem to have some bootlick close to them whenever they're dealing with the black community, especially if something controversial's gone down. They always do that. I think that the reason she was standing right there beside the mic is exactly because they had arranged that she was going to do that in case things went sour. Ron DeSantis knows full well that Black Florida hates him because he hates Black people. So, of course, he would have arranged beforehand to have this bottle blonde bootlick run interference for him if the crowd didn't stop booing him. This is something that both Democrats and Republicans do. They have black shills who are on their payroll, who are always right on hand to calm black folks down. Doesn't matter if it's Ron DeSantis or Joe Biden. They always make sure to have some Simone Mammy Sanders or Kamala Harris or whomever on hand, some pet Negro who they know is going to be barking at the black community. My problem, though, is that the black attendees to that vigil did what this traitor told them to do. They should have become louder and rowdier when she started talking back to them. That they were cowed so easily made the tragedy worse because the dead have been silenced and the living refuse to say a word on their behalf.
Facts.
One of my commenters on Twitter said that the black community is dead, that it died during slavery. I know it's a bitter pill to swallow, but he's right. Our willingness to fight, our refusal to tolerate disrespect was largely beaten out of us. When something wrong slaps you in the face, you're supposed to fight it. We are all supposed to be able to recognize evil when we see it, and we're supposed to be driven to fight it and to crush it, but we're not. Instead, we try to rationalize it. We are so quick to hide behind Bible verses too, but only the ones that justify us not fighting. We ignore the ones that tell us to fight. We say some empty rhetoric about turning the other cheek, when in reality we're cowards, just trying to find a way to make our cowardice and apathy sound like a virtue when it's not. We want our refusal to stand up for our faith and for ourselves to sound pious, when the truth is, it's just plain old cowardice, plain old spiritual laziness. We're scared to stand up for anything, and we can't be bothered to fight, especially for ourselves. The sad truth is that too many of us are waiting for white power to give us permission to speak up for ourselves, or to give us permission to talk back to these anti-black racists. And we're scared if we even think that they're not going to give us that permission. We're terrified of even the slightest criticism from them. The second that we receive any pushback from the white media or their bootlicks, we back down. We're terrified at the prospect of criticism from white power, especially their media. We're terrified some bootlick or some empty-headed Negro or some old baby boomer or some hood rat or dusty dude's gonna say, "Mans, days is making us look horrible. Oh, why's black folks always got to be so unruly in Publix?" That's what we're scared of. We rein ourselves in when we're supposed to be cutting loose. The enemy knows that, and they play on that weakness. And they have a number of operatives among us who encourage this subservient behavior. Decades of white power sending a torrent of bootlicks and traitors to pose as our leaders has confused and deranged our internal politics to the point that we allow people to berate us publicly because we're angry at some racist governor who encourages anti-Black massacres. We allow ourselves to be berated for our righteous indignation at the fact that we're being murdered with impunity, and these are not just mass murders, they are executions carried out by the state. We are drowned in liars and self-interested con men sent by white power, and who they tell us this is who we're supposed to vote for. Well, these are not our leaders. We didn't choose them. What Jacoby Pittman did is what all the bootlicks, tethers, and white adjacents have done for over a century. If they can't be classified as white, then at the very least, they'll do the most to make themselves of use to those who are. And it happens because all too often we have allowed it. So yes, whether you want to hear it or not, the Black community is dead. But that's the reason we're here. That's the reason we're doing what we're doing. The Black community is dead. And it is up to us to resurrect it. Now, some of you may hate this analogy, but I'm going to say it anyway. When Jesus Christ was crucified and put to death, he too was also dead. He wasn't asleep or just in a coma. He wasn't just incapacitated. He was dead. No heartbeat, no brain waves. His spirit had been separated from his body, which is what death is. But in order for the world to change, he had to be resurrected. The Black community is also dead, and it too must also be resurrected if justice is to prevail. What we saw in Florida was a hideous example of how easily some Negroes can be gotten off code, not just from Mammy Pittman, but also from the Black people who fell silent simply because this sock puppet punk Pittman began yelling her stupid head off. She scolded them like children and they obeyed. That's not the behavior of people who are spiritually and morally alive. That is the behavior of a people who are spiritually, intellectually, and morally dead. You had Black people there who knew better, but didn't do anything. They just obeyed. It was an example of moral cowardice. It was an example of spiritual death. And we have to call it what it is. You got Black folks who are cowed and at this point cowardly. And what are they scared of? They're trying to win some respectability politics, which is what causes people who are righteously outraged to fall silent like they did. Well, first of all, the people who elected garbage like Bunny Ruckus to office in the first place, they're the ones who should be ashamed. Yes, she looked different in her past photos, by the way. She didn't have that bleached blonde garbage on her head, but so what? She didn't just become a bootlick when DeSantis came to town on Sunday. She had been auditioning for Butter Biscuits long before that. This was a vigil for the victims of a mass murder that was inspired and encouraged by Ron DeSantis. One of the people there should have taken the mic and told the world that he was responsible for this. In Minneapolis, after the murder of George Floyd, the city's so-called progressive mayor called himself doing what DeSantis did. He decided he'd have a little town hall in the middle of town and tell the people that they shouldn't be blaming him. The people of Minneapolis, though, weren't having it. They publicly excoriated that bastard, and they literally drove him out of the town square. And then after that, he stopped all of his splaining, and he began acting, or at least talking, like he had some sense, for a while there anyway. Now, the mayor of Minneapolis was marginally responsible for the murder of George Floyd. DeSantis, on the other hand, is completely responsible for the mass murder in Jacksonville. That was one of his supporters who did it, and they did it at his political behest. He spent years repeating white supremacist talking points and encouraging violence against the Black community by literally running against Black Florida and signing laws explicitly for the purpose of legalizing violence against Black people. He spent years setting up all of the rhetorical and legislative dominoes necessary to lead to white supremacists taking out acts of open violence against the Black community. All he had to do at that point was sit back and wait for someone to knock him over, and it didn't take long. We cannot afford to be silent in the face of injustice.
All right, real quick, some more comments. Say hi to George Floyd for me. That's what he's saying about Ryan Palmetto. That's the communist watcher. And then you got Stephen Edwards saying R.I.P. Bozo. And then you got Hamster Nuts showing the Ukraine president with a very interesting shirt. You guys can see that. Riot in hell. I don't know if he meant rot in hell. Racist. Calling him a Fed. And then you got this dude or somebody named Mushroom saying rest in power, King. King Eli Music says maggot food to Ryan Palmetto. I don't know if he still has his Twitter account up or not. So there you go on that. Scum sucking maggot. You hoe. Mike C says you claim to have a 3.5 GPA. One would think that you would have been smart enough to ignore the cesspool of garbage that polluted your mind. May you rest in hell. Moonchud says retard can't even take a picture straight. And let me see, hold on here. And Tati Biatch says bum ass Biatch. All right. And then you go with some more comments in relation to, they all responding to Ryan Palmetto or Palmetto. I guess responding to his Twitter page. If he still had one anyway. All right. There you go. Let's continue with the audio.
Too many Negroes, even at this late date, are still trying to win some respectability contest. These white supremacists will never respect you. And even if they did, what does that mean to you? The goal is to make the white supremacists retreat from the public square. And you don't do that by being on your best behavior for the cameras. You can't get these born-again Nazis to back down by showing them that you're not going to resist them. The white supremacists are violent thugs. The only thing they understand is getting a foot in their behinds. So that being the case, you're supposed to put on the size 10 gunboats with the steel toe and start swinging. As Paul Mooney said, when they go crazy, you're supposed to go crazy too. Now, there's another aspect to this that has to be mentioned. It was no accident at all that when DeSantis was being confronted by the community, it happened to be a Black woman who was the one who rushed to the lectern, took the mic, and began berating the crowd. We have seen this time and time again. All too often, when a white supremacist is getting checked, it will be some Bunny Ruckus wannabe who's tripping over her hair weave to be the first one to protect him and to tell the community to stop fighting white supremacy. They want to be the very first ones to wag their finger at the community. You had a bunch of people out there, including Black women, who were furious, indignant, and who were on code against DeSantis. But family, we have to be honest about how white power has worked to drive a gender divide and how they have effectively played on it. Over the course of the last several years, we've seen a lot of black male bootlicks, usually preachers, though sometimes politicians, who white powers tried to trot out there to get them to toe the line for massa. And practically all of them get called out and shouted down. It's to the point now where they don't even try it publicly anymore. They'll do it on TV, but that's about it. Their black male bootlicks have found that when they try to come out here and wag their finger at the community, it blows up in their faces. But when they send out a black woman to do it, people don't react that way. We have to be uncompromising about leaving the enemy no one to hide behind. Now, sisters, this is where you come in. Black women are on code, and more are getting on code every day. That's why I'm saying this. The best way to shut down the Jacoby Pittmans is to have black women who are the ones doing it. There were black women there, but they were silent. You don't have to ask permission to shut down a bootlick who's undermining us. Everyone fell silent because they were waiting to see who else was going to say something, but no one did. This is what I mean when I say white power deranges and confuses our internal politics. What should be easy and automatic for us instead becomes disorganized, confused, and ultimately impossible. They send their operatives among us precisely to undermine us like this. Notice how nobody in the white media is calling Jacoby Pittman out because she was doing their bidding. The enemy has become highly reliant on using female bootlicks to sell the soap for them. Black women in particular have a huge part to play in challenging these bootlicks and doing so forcefully. When the enemy sees that black women aren't going to be silent and aren't having it, then the same way we've seen the black male bootlicks largely abandon speaking in public, we'll also see the Jacoby Pittmans do the same. We, all of us, are the leaders of the black community, not these handpicked puppets. When they call themselves talking back to us, they are out of order, not us. When we are confronting evil and they take the side of evil, then they are not public servants anymore. They have become public enemies. When we are voicing our outrage, nobody has the right to tell us to be quiet, especially not some punk we put in office. We are the leaders, but we have to act like it. When some bootlick berates us, we're supposed to shout them down and run them out. And when that happens, we will be the ones who control the mic. And we will be the ones making sure that the truth is told, which is as it should be. Good day, and be one.
All right. Y'all heard it from the professor. We are all leaders, and no one needs permission to have to check one of them bootlicks, Mammy Bunny Ruckuses, who get out of line. All right? Let's get that straight. So hopefully you get this straight once and for all. No longer allow these bunny ruckuses to get out here and get out of hand. It's time to call them out. Call them out. Then the next bunny ruckus will be hesitant to do what this lady did here. All right. So y'all let me know what y'all think. As always, put it in the comments, man. Put it in the comments. Hopefully we get this straight. All right. Every black person is a leader. Start acting like one. With that being said, you know what it is. This is Thoughts of the Week podcast. I'm gone. Peace. You're rocking with the best Thoughts of the Week podcast.